This week's Torah portion, Vayetchanan, we are with Rabbi Nissim, ha-Cohen of Djerba, early 19th century, huge giant. In his book Nissim, he looks at the first verse of this week's Torah portion. Ata hachilot leharot et avdecha. Right, I implore you, Moses is talking to Hashem, who showed me your greatness. And what greatness are we exactly talking about that Moses, these miracles, God's, amazing way in which he lets the world conduct itself in a natural way? And Rabbi Nissim is going to explain to us through the word leharot, to show. He says there are three unique instances that are tied together where the Bible uses the word to show, leharot. One is here, and this is where Moses is alluding to something. And if we want to understand what Moses is talking about, we need to see the other two unique instances that are connected to here, and they're in the scroll of Esther. In the scroll of Esther, the first time it says leharot is when Achashverosh wants to brag about his wife Vashti, leharot ota, to show her to all the nations and all the ministers, and of course she doesn't want to, and as a result her head's chopped off. And the other instance is with Esther, where Esther, who is then of course taken in her place, then comes leharot, she comes to show herself to Achashverosh to plead for her people. And he says, Rabbi Nissim, he notices this comes to teach us that Haman had a plot. And when Haman had a plot, hadn't God, right, it's to show us that God is the one pulling the strings. This comes to teach us that a lot of things happen in the news that we read about, but Rabbi Nissim wants to teach us, you need to understand that God is pulling the strings. It's this sort of fine line between God making things happen in history, creating events, and man knowing when to take the opportunity with what God is bringing. And Mordechai knew how to do this. Mordechai understood what this word leharot, to show, means. Mordechai understood that when things happen in the world, God is pushing things and we then have to initiate. And he understood that if Haman, the evil Haman, wants to plot against the Jews, it's not by chance that Achashverosh wanted to show Vashti to everyone, and she of course was stubborn and didn't want to because they weren't getting along. This happened because Esther had to come in her place. And this is what happens when Mordechai says to Esther, perhaps this is the reason you are here. What does it mean when Mordechai says, perhaps this is the reason you are here? I understand the natural, quote-unquote, event that God has brought about by Achashverosh wanting to show Vashti to everyone. It was God pushing events in order so that we could then initiate and put you in place. And then thanks to you who have now been able to show yourself to Achashverosh and then change the decree. And this is what Moses is hinting at, our first leharot, to show, when he says, you have shown me your greatness. You have shown me, God, that not only are you all powerful and create miracles, but you also move things in the world, and it's man's job to see when certain historic, quote-unquote, events are happening, when they're not actually historic events, but it's God pushing a little bit for us to then take action. Thoughts on the Torah portion of Vayetchanan from the great Rabbi Nissim, ha-Cohen of Djerba, on the word leharot. Shabbat Shalom.